Winrate is useless. Okay, a bit of hyperbole, but the value of it is overblown. It is a simple, visible, objective way to understand hero strength, but it measures outcomes, not strength itself. There are so many factors like coordination, compositions, and skill ceilings that show Winrate is not perfectly correlated with a hero's strength. Kiriko is arguably the most powerful support in Overwatch, a jack of all trades, master of some. She is one of the best support ults, decent healing output, good damage output, great abilities, yet she has a 50.1% unmirrored win rate. Why? In GM+, Lifeweaver has a higher win rate than her. On paper, that doesn't make immediate sense. But it makes sense when you look at the factors affecting it and not just the number itself. This video will break down why it happens, what actually distorts these stats, how to read them, and show when it's actually useful. You can't rely on win rate alone, but don't get me wrong, it's probably still an issue if a hero is above 55 or below 40% win rate. Okay, so what are these factors that affect win rate? 1. Win rate looks at the floor, not the ceiling. In other words, it reflects how consistently players can access a hero's skill ceiling, not what it actually is. What actually determines a hero's meta strength is what they can do. And even at the highest level, people aren't achieving the potential of these heroes outside of sporadic moments. This is because the skill floor changes for every rank. Yachty is a low skill floor, but pretty strong support. Because of that, her win rate is high because at a base level, most players are reaching that floor. And it also helps that she does a billion damage. Lucio is a high skill floor, strong support. I would say Lucio is better than a Yachty in most situations, but of course there are exceptions. But the floor for him is so much higher, so his win rate just gets tanked in comparison to her. Sometimes heroes like Zarya and D.Va avoid nerfs even though they're pretty strong because their win rate is not too good. But that just doesn't account for the stupid amount of value they can get if they just scratch the skill ceiling. Looking at all tiers, Zenyatta actually has the highest win rate by far. Yet he isn't very good right now. How? Because a Kiriko who actually does her job is infinitely better than Zenyatta in value potential, but most players are unable to do so consistently. But most players know she has the potential to cleanse every ult, run you down with Kitsune while having top damage and heals, when Zen just does not have the potential to do the same. On the other side of the coin, there's Sojourn. She has the lowest win rate in the entire game, yet she's one of the strongest hit scans in it. How? Because if people actually manage to play her correctly and hit their rails and effectively slide, she is the best by far. That is what makes her strong. But let's be honest, no one's doing that. But one thing you need to remember is a hero's practical strength depends on whether players can consistently access their skill ceiling. And that is what win rate is. There is a difference between theoretical strength, which is what meta is, and practical strength, or the ability of ranked players to consistently access that value. Some of these win rates can be surprising. Emre is 100% overtuned right now, but Junkrat has a higher win rate than him. Something doesn't seem right. High pick rates can lead to lower win rates. This is because it is not often that these heroes are mastered and they're just swapped between. They tend to be safe picks no matter the situation, and this naturally brings the win rate down, no matter how good the character may be. Low pick rate heroes can actually be the opposite. Like, if a hero is only played by specialists, the pick rate is lower, but the win rate is higher. These heroes can also just be played on maps that are good for them specifically, and not much else. Like picking Rat for Eichenwald first, Pharah for Lijiang Garden, or Widow for Havana. Or even in the comps good for them, like Break into Dive, playing Juno with Brawl, or Sig into Poke. This is not a rule though. I'm not saying high pick rate heroes cannot have high win rates or that low win rate heroes automatically have a boost. Like, right now Vendetta sucks even if you are a specialist, or like Tracer has a high win rate and pick rate, but I'll get into why I think that's the case later. This is the most obvious point I'll make, but some characters when played with coordination go from F to S tier, and that is because a hero can be OP when played in the right situation. That is what makes him strong. An easy example is speed. It is good in ladder play, but in coordinated play, it opens up millions of possibilities. It allows you to get those 5-man rushes, completely kite ultimate turns when used properly, but that just isn't reflected in ranked win rate. Okay, we're bringing back Sojourn again. She is a unique spot in the meta, now along with Sierra, where she is the hit scan that can participate in dives with burst damage and mobility. But that is not happening in my ranked games. She is going to shoot tank, farm rail, and try and hit the Mercy from 50 meters away. Currently, the professional meta is Catstrin, and both of these heroes have middling win rates. But when you pair them together with a team who understands how to play around it, suddenly you have the deadliest team comp in the game. And individually, even if these heroes look like they suck, Cat has a 48.2% win rate, but she is responsible for ending a 4-year-long perma Lucio Kitty meta. Another point is solution character theory, where heroes like Orisa, Ana, Kiriko, Cass, and Hog have strangely low win rates considering their strength. Why? Because they're not always the starting picks, they're swap picks. This is solution character theory. You may start on your comfort hero, but then you lose the first fight, then you swap to Ana to deal with the Hog, or Kitty to deal with the Ana. But the issue is, if you already lost the first fight, the game is already trending towards a loss. So now, you're playing the unfavorable game on Ana or Kiriko instead of your main, dragging down their overall win rates even when the hero itself is strong. It is the same principle in losing to a dive tank and swapping to Hog or Cass, or losing to Brawn and swapping to Zen, or losing to a Diva and swapping to a Beam. What I appreciate about win rate stats is they're unmirrored and weighted with playtime, which I think is really good, but I do think they could add one feature that could entirely disprove my theory: a no swap win rate button. This will tell us a more accurate win rate, not based on swaps, but on raw strength. There is the issue with sample size for this one, so they would need to be careful what they added this. I'm calling this one team comp theory, where differences between pick and win rate can sometimes tell you how team comps are actually being built. Main DPS or hit scans are significantly more popular than flex DPS, even though they are both necessary to form a solid team comp. But the weird part is, flex DPS win rate averages 4.2% higher than the hit scans. What? One likely reason is just team composition. Most team comps benefit from one flex DPS and one main DPS, but because main DPS are significantly more common, playing flex DPS can increase your chance of getting the optimal comp, increasing the likelihood of winning by beating the more probable double hit scan comps. So even if flex DPS aren't individually stronger, their win rate could just be higher because they could complete team comps. A similar pattern can be noticed with main and flex supports. The 5 highest win rates are main supports, but 4 out of 5 of the highest pick rates are flex supports. This effect is a lot more prevalent in the lower ranks, where players aren't as likely to need to swap for team needs. At higher ranks, players flex more, so team comp imbalance is less common. Not to say that they won't end up running double hit scan with a Doom on their team, but hey, you win some, you lose some. This is just a factor though, not the whole story. But it does show that win and pick rate aren't even hero strength, it's just how they fit together. Okay, low-key, this is the most important point I'll make, but even if everything I said so far is completely wrong, and it very well might be, and these heroes actually do suck, it doesn't matter. If people feel like a hero is oppressive to play against, that feeling is real to the player, and no amount of statistics you throw at them will fix that. A good example is Sombra. People in the metal ranks, especially in console, really struggle to play against her. Is she weak right now? Yeah. Does she need to be buffed? Unfortunately, unless they find a way to buff her in the higher ranks without making her OP in the metal ranks, no. Regardless of statistics, perception matters more. Perception is the reality of the player. Although I think that it matters significantly more if a player base believes a statistically poor hero needs to be nerfed, rather than a statistically strong hero needs to be buffed. Before we continue, if you enjoy discussion content, consider joining my Discord. I yap a lot there too, and you give me feedback and suggest ideas of your own. I especially need help for an upcoming video. Also, thank you for 100 subs. When I started, I was only expecting 60 or 70 views on video. Okay, let's move on. Okay, then when do you use it? Based on everything I said, it sounds like it's just something not worth using. But I think it just can't be taken at face value. So this portion will cover the situations where it can actually be used. When you have two heroes at a 50% win rate, one might be really strong, and the other one might be Moira. Okay, this is actually the most obvious point I'll make, but if you see Pharah with a 55.8% win rate in GM Plus with an 8% pick rate, there's not that much of an argument to say she is bad right now. It also works in the opposite direction. Right now, Vendetta is horrible in GM with a 1% win rate. Wait, the 1% pick rate and a 42.7% win rate after they gutted her. And even if you try to use the theories from earlier, she still sucks. She is an average skill floor, specialist, non-counterpick, flex DPS, who hasn't even been used in coordinated play since Catstron has graced us with its presence. Another thing win rate is actually good for is identifying relative change from one patch to another, because it isn't good at telling a story in a vacuum. Sometimes we can't tell if a buff is game-changing or just a quality of life thing, or if a nerf is 9/11 for someone. God, what a stupid video, she's fine. Since we already talked about Vendetta, I remember people seeing the nerf she got in Season 2 and saying, it was good, but not enough. But her win rate in GM has dropped from 52.4% in Season 1 to 41.9% in Season 2, when they nerfed her armor, range, and perks, only making a slight recovery to 42.7% since they hotfixed some HP back. That is a 10.5% drop, which is insane for a game with 10 people in it. I was also told that the Vengeful Vortex and base kit for Amatra wasn't that good because his perks became useless, but then his win rate climbs from 46.8% in GM to 50% now, telling me that it was a good buff despite his perks changing. But still, does that mean Ramatra is meta? Nope, it's free from meta and only one support exists to help him. But relative to before, yes, he is strong. And finally, examining regional differences in meta and platform. Sometimes if you're just like, why did this hero get nerfed? Or why isn't this hero getting buffed? You might just have to go look at other platforms and regions. D.Va in the Americas is still pretty strong, but with a middling win rate of 48.4%. But if we head over to Europe, it is suddenly 54.1%. How? It can come down to things like hero preferences of specific regions, like Asia being better at dive than everyone. But even there, D.Va only has a 50.8% win rate. The DPS and support pick rates are similar in all three regions, so it's not even a matter of meta differences. I genuinely can't explain this one, but it does partially explain how a European may hate D.Va and be frustrated by the lack of nerfs more than someone in NA would. A more common example is, do you think Ana is kinda mid right now? Possibly, yeah. But if you go over to Asia, where Winston, outside of his meta, is still the most picked tank because they are that good at him. And then you look at his best support pair, Ana. She has a significantly higher win rate and pick rate in Asia than every other region, even matching Kiriko. Once again, Kiriko is still better than her, but preference differences in region can drastically affect win rate because of how practiced they are. So if you think a hero like Winston isn't very good right now, just check out another region and see if it still lines up before you make up your mind. And you want to know the craziest part about all this? Literally none of these statistics matter outside of the highest levels of play and for balancing. If there is anything to take away from this, playing to your strengths is more important than any amount of win rates or metas. Of course you can adjust your hero pool to suit your team, or your favorite hero got sent to the dungeon like Vendetta so you just play someone else. But if you're really good at this hero, and you see that that other hero is really good right now, that doesn't mean it's time to swap. Even if you were to have short-term gains, your rank, unless you commit to that new hero long-term, will suffer, as you constantly switch your main to whatever is current meta. There is a player of every hero, even the horrible ones, in every rank for a reason. Being a jack of all trades is useful for sure, but meta chasing will only get you so far. Most high-level players become exceptional at one thing, and then they expand off of that. And if the devs are watching this, listen to what I said and consider. I know Kiriko had a 47.5% win rate, but why did we buff her, please? Oh shoot.